Hey, what's going on, guys? The Arcanadea line of model kits from Kotobukiya is back with the Elena kit here, which is very different for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's in a big size box, which is different from the normal standard size, which we've had for the first few kits out in the line. So it's the first in the line to be in this big size, beautiful box here. Also, it's a centaur horse girl in this case, so not your standard just female body design for this one. It's only half of that and then half of a horse, so it's definitely going to be very interesting for this one. Let's go ahead and check it out for today's video. And alright, so as usual with the Arcanadea box art, we have this gold lining around the outside, which is in gloss, which looks really nice against the matte finish of the box artwork itself, and the naming down there, the titling also in that glossy gold. We also have some illustration credits here on the front, even as well, illustrated by Zeton, but some beautiful box artwork here for this one. And a large box size means that you can have larger box art, which is always awesome. And we've even got different artwork for here on the bottom of the box, a different illustration there of the character. And then if we go around on the top of the box, different illustration here, once again, of the character in kind of the low armor mode or the normal mode, whereas the fully armored mode would be the Will Eyes mode. Anyway, so speaking of, here on the side of the box, here we have images of the fully built and painted kit. There it is in the Will Eyes mode and the normal mode right here. And then if we go down a little bit further, we have some action shots showing some of the different posing that you can do here with this. So it's a horse girl or a centaur with this long lance there. So all quite very fitting to the design. There we have a nice photograph of the kit kind of out in nature there, looking very cool. And then on the other side of the box, a look at our included face option parts here, which look pretty nice, very expressive. And then what the built kit is going to look completely unpainted, just straight built right out of the box. It's going to look pretty great, I have to say. That looks really good. The MSRP for this one over here, 8,900 yen. With a large box like this, not going to be too surprising that this has a little bit higher MSRP for this one. It's going to be a pretty good size kit. But let's dig into our contents here. We'll get to the runners in just a moment. Just want to first take a look here at the instruction manual. We'll go look at some other cool stuff. On the front of the manual, we've just got the same artwork there once again. Nothing really on the back side. On the inside front pages here, more artwork and images of the built and painted kit here for your reference. A little bit about the Arcanadea world there. There is also a QR code for the arcanadea-official.com website, so check that out if you guys are interested. Next page here is going to be starting on our parts list and then straight on into the construction after we get through the parts list anyway. So you're going to build the normal mode and then you build everything else and then you make the Will Eyes mode. And then once we get to the back of the manual here, we're going to have our decal and color guide. So decals that we're going to have, I would imagine it's probably just for the eyes, I think. And then our color guide there, basically a bunch of different shades of gold and brown and like gray and black. And that's pretty much it kind of for the color scheme for this one. But here you can see some really nice reference photos there if you did want to stick to the original color scheme. And with that, we can take a look at our included waterslide decals, which is a very small sheet here, just with some decals for the eyes, and that's about it. Here we've got our pre-printed faces, looking beautiful as always. The printing quality and everything on these, really nice, and nice to have 4 fully printed faces included with the kit. We'll take a closer look at those in the review. We've got a bunch more pre-printed parts right here. There's like a collar piece, a couple of parts here, this little shield part. The ears for her, she's got little horse ears on the top of her head. Those are pre-printed with white inside of that hair color, like blonde piece. And then some more shield parts right there, pre-printed on the gold. One last one right here with a little bit of black and gold printed on this kind of light gray colored part. Looks really nice. And then from there, that's a perfect transition right into the runners, as we have a couple of small little runners here bagged up. C in skin tone, runner R here we have in clear blue there for the back. We've got our hand tree here with a bunch of different hand option parts. This is in a dark brownish gray kind of color. Runner A is going to be in a light tan color here for all of our hair parts, including tail hair parts. Runner B is going to be all of our skin tone parts here for the kit. Runner C we saw, and then runners D, E, and F are going to be all parts here in a dark brown color there. Then we have runner G, which is very interesting. The best way that I could describe this color to you guys is caramel, and I mean that not only in the color but also the opacity, in that this plastic is somewhat clear, so it's like a somewhat very slightly clear caramel color, basically like exactly like caramel. So it's very interesting. Runner H is here in a dark reddish brown kind of color, dark maroon, I guess maybe. Runners I, J, and L are all parts for the horse body here in a kind of medium brown color, as you can see in this nice glossy finish as well. Runner K we had in between there is just going to be some wrist joint parts here in a dark brown color. Runner M is a few pieces here in white. Then runners N and P are going to be here in a light gray color. In between those we had runner O, but also runner Q here, and then runner Z are all going to be here in a nice molded gold, which does look really nice. It's a really nice shade of gold here, especially the base plate there on runner Z with that pattern engraved in it does look really, really cool. All right, and here is the kit all built up, certainly very unique. As I've said, the Arcanadea line is definitely a line that has been really, really great so far, and that definitely continues with this one, although I do have some questions about this kit. We'll talk some more about that here in a little bit, but just in terms of the overall quality, the details, the fit, everything of this, of course, is absolutely outstanding, as you would expect from a Kotobukiya, especially Kotobukiya's musume model kits like this. And while I do have it on the stand here at the moment, that is absolutely not necessary. I just have it on there just to show it to you guys, but of course this obviously is going to stand perfectly fine without the use of that extra base there. But that is one thing that we definitely do have a lot of with this kit, and it's option accessory parts. There's quite a lot of accessory parts here with this one, so let's go ahead and get right into it, starting off talking about some of those. And so on the note of the base here, as you can see, it just plugs into a hard point on the underside of the horse body. We have a few different points of articulation. The gold base does look really nice, and especially if you wanted to do a pose with this like rearing up. I don't remember the correct word for that, but obviously then in that case you're certainly going to need to utilize the base, and so it's nice to have that works well. For our face option parts, these do look really nice. Here's two of the different options that we have. All the colors, the printing quality, everything looks super good. And our third and fourth face option parts here give us a nice range of expressions as well for this one, so that's really nice. And then for the top of the hair too, if you didn't want the little horse ears on the top, there's just like a regular cap piece that you can use that will just make it all just solid hair color without the ears, but I figure it's kind of how it's meant to be portrayed, right? So you might as well just stick with that. And then for the Will Eyes form, or like the fully armored form here, we're going to swap out the part for the front of the hair, which gives you a little bit more armor on the top and on the sides there with those gold parts. It also then has a hat. And again, with this, you can omit the horse ears if you want to, but that is just kind of part of the design. That's the parts we're going to swap out there. We're also going to swap out these chest parts here for an option which obviously has this big breastplate on it there, that big piece of armor on the front of the chest. I mean, one other thing I do just want to say about the elephants in the room is that I've certainly been on board with wanting Kotobukiya to branch out a little bit more when it comes to their body proportions on their musume kits. I will say though, this is a little bit ridiculous here with this one, and especially it's interesting that they chose to try something like this on a kit where we really only have like half a body. So I don't know. In the meantime, I'm really hoping that we will at some point get the frame arms girl Type 48, but I don't know, at least for now it is something at least a little bit different. And then down here in the midsection, that middle part, we're going to swap out for this piece again, which has some additional armor there with some nice detail. Oh, and also on the chest, that little black piece there at the center is going to be swapped out with this one with that pre-printed black and white part there on it, which again gives us some more armor. Around on the back side, we're going to swap out this piece, which is in gray and gold, for this piece here, which is just going to be a connection piece, which you can use connecting that. Well, I guess you don't have to. You could leave that in there if you want, or you can swap that out for this one, which is a connector piece, basically to using this with an additional base or something if you wanted to. As for the arms, as you can see, we have asymmetrical arms here, with this one being all skin tone and this one having some of that armor on it. For these parts up here at the middle of the bicep, you can swap those out for a piece that does have a hard point on it if you wanted to attach something else onto there. Otherwise, for the Will Eyes form, that part is going to be swapped out with this additional armor piece here, which does have a hard point on it, as well as swapping the entirety of the arm out for this part here, which has like this like fur detail, another like strap kind of hanging off of it, and like all this mix of cloth and armor there, which does look pretty cool for the Will Eyes form arms. And then we've got our standard array of hand option parts, but they are really nicely detailed with this sort of like armor and very pointy fingers look to that. We've got closed fists, open resting hands there, as you can see. We've also got this set of open expressive hands, which look really nice, and then two different style of open hands, one with the trigger finger extended, and then one with just a regular holding hand there. And we've got all of those for the left and the right side. Moving down further, then this middle part here is going to be swapped with this, again, much more substantial armor piece there with this strap that's hanging down off of that. It looks really nice. And then we're also going to swap this piece of armor here on the front of the leg for a much larger one, but I do feel like this armor piece having like the mix of like the black and like this what's meant to look like a sort of steel gray color, the part that we're going to switch that out to is just a simple solid black piece, which does have some nice detail on that. And then these armor pieces here around the ankles, we're also going to switch those out for a slightly larger and slightly more elaborate version of that. You can kind of see the difference between the regular one and the Will Eyes form one. It's just a little bit larger basically. And then we're going to also swap these big kind of armor pieces here on the side, which is in gray, sort of meant to look like sort of steel. We're going to swap those out for these big pieces here like this, which do look pretty nice. Not so much on the underside, but on the outside they look pretty cool there. So we're going to swap those. And then going around here to the back, once again, you can see there's that little gold piece there at the bottom where we can take that out and actually take out that piece there in the back. And if you want, you can use this piece here, which is just to help support the weight of the kit. Because if you have like those parts on the arms, which can be quite heavy, and then with the weapon in hand, if you're like having stability issues, this is just basically a piece which you can use there at the back just to kind of keep the body stable without falling over. And then around here towards the back end, we have an additional kind of strap piece here, which is just going to attach onto the top of there for the Will Eyes form as well. This has a couple of points of articulation there on that, so you can move this around. And then you can see you do have a hard point on there. You could attach more stuff onto it if you wanted to put like attach some Gatling guns onto the back side of this or something. Then getting to our kind of weapon accessories, here is the shield accessory and the connection piece that we're going to use for that. This can also be connected onto like the side of the wrist if we use this just a simple connection piece there like that. And then we've got an option for the front of this kind of small spike sticking out. You can swap that out for this piece instead with this very long horn on it. And there's another gimmick too, which I'll come back to here in just a moment, but this is actually made up of like a few different pieces there, as you can see, and these can kind of like come off, and there's different things that we can do with that. Then we've got her main lance weapon here, which is about 27 centimeters in length, so it's very long. And we've obviously got the main handle, but then you can also hold on to the secondary handle, which can move up and down. You can also slide this kind of left and right on the connection part right there. And then there's an option to swap out this end part, which is kind of interesting, very unique, sort of meant to look like a cannon, I guess. You can actually take that out and swap that for just kind of a standard pointed lance and like that, which will actually make it even slightly longer, probably pushing 30 centimeters in length. And then also, if we wanted to omit this part and just kind of, again, make the lance look more like a simple basic lance, you can swap out that for just another like half of what this piece looks like right there. And again, I'll show you guys what that looks like in a minute. But the reason we have this piece on here, I mean, it's just kind of a unique design. But if we go back to the instruction manual, you can see if we remove that piece and turn our lance into just kind of a regular lance, we remove the top half of the body off of here. And then also we just kind of remove the shield parts, kind of take those apart. We can combine those parts, recombine everything all together back into sort of like a unicorn horse head that we can put onto this horse. And I will show you guys how this looks. I'll demonstrate that here in a moment. But then you have the whole upper body of the character that like you're left to, there's nothing you can do with that. So that's what I want to talk about here next. And that is the topic that I mentioned before, is that I have a couple of questions about this kit. So we have all these parts that we can remake into a horse head to make like a horse body with like this mechanical horse head on it, which is interesting, I suppose. But yet we don't have option parts to make just standard legs for our Elena character then in that case. And that's one thing that I really feel like is missing from this. Now this is a big set. It's a big box with a lot of parts in here, and it's already an expensive kit as it is, so adding more parts to that just would have made the kit more expensive. That said, I think that it really would have been nice to also include parts in here to just make, I mean, they don't have to be the most elaborate parts, but I mean, just some sort of standard simple legs, like something to just match the design of the standard form here. To have leg options if you didn't want to have her on a horse body. Now, I guess if you didn't want to have a horse body character, I mean, just buy a different kit, but I feel like this would be great if it had, you know, if you like really like all the parts and accessories for the body and you like the lance and you like the shield and everything, but you just want to have just standard legs, you're kind of just out of luck. And I feel like that would have really been nice to have been included with this, especially if you do have all these parts which you can recombine into making a head for the horse, but we don't have anything to make legs for the character. Aside from that, the only other main kind of, I don't necessarily want to say issue I have with this kit, but again, it's just a question that I have is to why the brown color plastic for like the horse body is so glossy. I mean, I guess horse hair is typically kind of shiny, so in that sense it kind of makes sense, but it makes it look like chocolate. And so it's kind of odd looking. It sort of looks like one of those like chocolate bunnies or something. And then also, I think as I may have mentioned in the unboxing, this color plastic here that we have for some of these like lighter brown parts is very slightly somewhat translucent and almost looks like caramel. So you've got parts on here that look like chocolate and parts on here that look like caramel. So straight out of the box, I mean, some of like the plastic color choices are a bit odd, I feel like. But aside from that, as I said before, I mean, we've got just a ton of great detail with the kit. The kit is a really nice kit, just, you know, objectively, without any of these sort of things that I'm kind of just like personally a little bit wondering about. And straight out of the box, of course, it is going to be missing a lot of color apps. If you look at like the artwork for the kit and the painted samples and everything, there's a lot of small little details and things that if you want it to be completely color accurate, there's a lot of small details that you would have to go in and paint. I think it does look good straight out of the box, but if you really want it to look its best, there is going to be a little bit more painting, I feel like, involved with this one for a lot of these little details around on the design. And I feel like this one is a particularly niche model kit. I mean, like already this type of musume, like fantasy musume model kits, like we've seen with the Arcanadea line, the Lumatia kit, the Valretta kit, for example. Those are, I feel like, designs that most people can get behind, you know, if they're into this type of like anime girl musume character, and especially model kits, right? This one being based on like a horse, a centaur character, I feel like is going even a little bit more niche with it, and so I'm not sure if it has like quite the same amount of appeal. And that's another reason why I feel like including standard leg parts would have been nice for people who are maybe not too people like myself, I guess, who are not as into the whole centaur aspect of it. But I am anxious to hear you guys' thoughts. What do you think about this release? The Arcanadea line in general has been really, really nice, and this is certainly another great entry into the line, but it's definitely an odd one, so I'm not sure if it's necessarily going to be for everyone, but we have a lot of great accessories and option parts and things that you can do with this, of course. So I think it definitely justifies the little bit higher price point. There's a lot of stuff in here, for sure. But let me know what you guys think about the kit in the comment section down below. If you guys want to check out this kit or anything else from Kotobukiya, you can check the link in the video description to USA Gundam Store as well. And just as another reminder to you guys, if you've not checked out any of the previous releases in the Arcanadea sort of sub-line, then I would highly recommend them. You can check out my reviews that I've done on those in the past as well, but they're really, really great kits, so definitely check those out. As for this one, there's a lot that you can do with this between all the different option parts and weapons and everything, so I'm only ever going to be able to show you a few different options here in this video, but as you can tell, there's a lot that you could do with this, and so especially if you're the kind of person that likes to be able to pose and repose your kits from time to time, this is one that I think you could definitely do a lot of different things with in terms of being able to pose it in different ways and all that. So that's going to do it for this video, guys. Thanks so much for checking this kit out with me. If you wouldn't mind leaving a like while you're here, making sure that you're subscribed, I really appreciate all of your support. Thank you so much. Until next time, hope you guys all have a great day. I'll see y'all later. Bye-bye.